I worked in the abortion clinic from 1996 to 2008, and I stopped working there when I moved here. I was living in Northwest Ohio, and the campus I was on was 20 minutes from the clinic, so I just went up 2 days a week and worked. And I was what we call a patient advocate, which means I was a peer counselor. I did medical intake, which just means helping people who maybe their literacy skills or their understanding of medicine was not what it needed to be to fill out a medical chart well.
Okay.
And then what I did mostly was I went into the room with each woman and stood next to her while she had her abortion.
Wow.
And I would, you know, whatever she wanted, right? So that's how I started. I would say, my name's Jeannie, I'm going to be your surgical advocate today. If there's anything you need, are you warm, are you cold, do you want a drink of water, do you want music on, do you want it quiet, do you want me to talk, do you want me to shut up, what do you need, right?
Yeah.
And every woman knows what she needs when she's stressed, and let's face it, having any surgery is stressful.
Yeah.
And having an abortion is extra stressful because a lot of women are sad about it, or they're hiding it from people they're afraid will judge them, or they're embarrassed, or whatever. So there are all kinds of reasons to find that particular moment to be stressful, right? And so I would just do whatever she wanted.
Dr. Ludlow met an abortion clinic owner by chance while she was serving as a faculty advisor.
And so we showed that film on campus, and we invited the head of the owner of the abortion clinic in Toledo to come down and lead the discussion. And she had stories. She was amazing. She had stories of helping women find safe illegal abortions before Roe. She had stories of having her own abortions, illegal and legal ones. And then she opened one of the first clinics in Northwest Ohio. As soon as abortion became legal, she had a clinic pretty much ready to go. So we were talking, and I said, so, do you ever need volunteers? And she said, yeah, come on up and fill out a volunteer application, and I did, and that's how I got there.
Wow. Dr. Ludlow explains her first abortion clinic experience.
Wow. And then I worked outside, helping patients in through the protesters for 1 week, and then they invited me to come in and work, so I did, and I worked there for 12 years. So it was a great job.
Was it?
Yeah.
She would often encounter her own students at the clinic.
Quite a few of my students were my patients, and some would say, I really don't want you in the room with me while I'm having my abortion, and that's cool. I can understand not wanting your professor to see you on a table naked, right? So I get that.
Yeah. Students were not the only familiar faces that she saw.
Daughters of friends who ended up there, friends of my son who were there as patients. I still know them. A couple of patients and their partners, my partner and I got close to. He worked there too at the clinic. And
Dr. Ludlow explains how she worked with her partner in the clinic.
And Marcus, my partner, would meet with the young man and talk to him about just the guy part of it, because there is a guy part of it, and people don't want to talk about that, right?
What is the guy part of it?
Well, some of them are very sad about it. Many men involved with abortion feel guilty or embarrassed, like, I should not have let this happen.
Dr. Ludlow continues to explain the male side of abortion.
And we're judgmental about abortion, so we set it up so they feel bad like that. And then we say to them, a lot of us say to them, this isn't your issue, it's not your body, you don't get to make the decision, and then they feel kind of like, I got nothing. I feel kind of bad, but I can't make a decision, so what do I have? And so at our clinic, what we would talk about is how, no, you don't get to make the decision. It's her body and it's her decision, and that's bottom line.
Yeah.
No one should be forced into having a baby, but you do have a right to say goodbye to whether it's you think of it as a baby or a potential baby or a potential child, or however you think about it. You have a right to say goodbye. You have a right to grieve it if you would grieve it, right? Some people do, some people don't.
Dr. Ludlow expresses her feelings towards Planned Parenthood versus privately owned abortion clinics.
One thing that I'm really passionate about, when we talk about abortion in the United States, most people automatically think Planned Parenthood. And I'm a big fan of Planned Parenthood. I like Planned Parenthood. But Planned Parenthood does not do most of the abortions in the U.S. They don't. Most abortions in the United States are done by what we call independent providers. That means abortion providers who that's all they do. They're not Planned Parenthood affiliated. They're not run by a national organization. So they don't have to follow their rules. They're owned by, most of them are owned by women. So they're woman-owned, feminist-owned businesses. And they're the ones that are getting targeted by these laws. They're the ones that are getting put out of business because Planned Parenthood has lots of money. And if you are a Pennsylvania legislator and your state legislature makes a law that says every abortion clinic in Pennsylvania has to have 6-foot wide hallways, right? Then Planned Parenthood has the money, they can do that. But the abortion clinics owned by women who have been serving other women for 40 years, they're small businesses, they're locally owned, they're woman-owned businesses, they're the ones who can't afford to do that. And so they're the ones getting put out of business. Meantime, Planned Parenthood is lowering the extent in pregnancy, the age of pregnancy at which they'll do abortions. So they used to do abortions into 18 or 20 weeks. Now most of them are down to about 12 or 14. And they're really pushing medicinal abortion, which is a great thing, where you take the pills and the abortion happens later at home. That's fine. I'm okay with a medicinal abortion, but Planned Parenthood is really pushing that. And some of their clinics, that's all they do now. You can only do that until 9 weeks. So the people who are losing out are the women who don't find out they're pregnant as early, who it takes them longer to raise the money to have an abortion, to get the money together, and they end up at these independent abortion providers. And those independent abortion providers, who are mostly women owning small local businesses, helping other women, they're the ones getting hurt by these laws. So, and a lot of people hear abortion and they think Planned Parenthood. And I just like people to think more broadly. Planned Parenthood, yes, and these independent abortion providers.